Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Fighting the Void. I am, as always, Ginger, and joining me today is my old buddy Wookie Steve, and we are going to be talking about the two things we typically talk about when I've got Steve on the show, and that is aliens and Star Wars. They kind of go together, so why the hell not, right? Okay, so for those who don't, and yes, I'm sorry, sometimes you just need a break from all the crazy out there, and there's plenty of it to go around. So we figured that the most sane thing to do would be to talk about aliens in Roswell. It seems reasonable to me. So, Steve, as always, welcome back.
Uh, thanks. When you were talking about getting a break from crazy, I thought, what's the topic tonight?
Well, again, put it in context, and this is pretty reasonable.
That's true.
I mean,
That's
we've literally got the Democrats talking about saying, maybe the president should share his nuclear football power because we don't trust Joe. I'm not kidding, by the way. I did not make that up.
Sharing is fun. Sharing is
good,
what we
right?
teach our kids, right?
You just want. Of course, the first question out of my mind is who would he be sharing it with? Pray tell.
Well, I would assume would be the next person in charge.
Yeah. I see. The funny thing is, people still think she's actually in charge at all too. I don't think so. I don't think that for a minute. I think whoever told Joe to pick Kamala is those are the ones in charge.
Hey, all I'll say is, compared to where I live, you have very, very interesting and colorful politics going on.
Very, very. I mean, you guys,
which makes me appreciate how boring it is where I live.
Right, Prime Minister Centerfold, who does joint training exercise with commies.
And we'll forget the we'll forget the black face that he's worn several times in his life because he wears cool socks.
Right, the socks, and he memorized a phrase about quantum mechanics once.
He did? Oh yeah, maybe he did.
Yeah, this is something that people were fawning over for a little while. Not long after he became prime minister, or some press conference or something, he's like, "And let me explain to you this thing about quantum mechanics," and it was portrayed as like, "Oh my gosh, he's actually like a world leader who actually knows things that are like important and cool. Isn't he the greatest thing?" Well, it turns out that this was like some phrase that he had literally memorized and practically begged somebody in the press to ask him about it.
Like, are you saying that the press went along to make him look good?
Oh, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's funny. Well, drama teachers are really good at memorizing things, so
it's true. And there's a lot of drama. But anyway, enough about Prime Minister Centerfold. Let's talk about the latest and greatest. This odd drip that's been coming from the Pentagon about what do they call it? What's the official terminology now? Unusual aerial phenomena or some crap like that.
Right.
Whatever it is, UFOs. Dang it! Just stop inventing new acronyms.
Because they could say they weren't lying about UFOs because it was UAVs or something.
Right. No, that's unmanned aerial vehicles. That's a different acronym.
Right. See, now I'm confused.
It's very confusing. So, what is this latest thing that is coming out of the Pentagon, and what the crap?
Well, which one actually? Because what they're, the last I heard is that the slow drip, which I think I watched a couple of videos one time where they were talking about the slow drip of until the disclosure happens, which could also be showing off some technology that you guys have with the help of aliens. I heard a name called, what was it called? There's TR3Bs or something these advanced fighters using the technology from the stolen alien technology. But I think what you're talking about is the other story could be, is it the Roswell, um, the
That's the
materials?
one I'm thinking about.
Yeah, Roswell, the materials. What what do you think about that? As the skeptic, maybe skeptic, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lot more skeptical on the potential alien origins of some of these things than what you typically are. That said, there was a recent Freedom of Information request. Well, the request was like 3 years old, as it turns out. But the Defense Intelligence Agency actually responded to one Anthony Bragalia, who is apparently he's got a UFO blog and all of that. So he's a UFO guy, right? Well, he
Right.
puts out some Freedom of Information Act request asking for, stuff that the government has from UFOs. And they actually responded. Not, there's still a lot of stuff that's redacted. But the long and the short of it is, yeah, we do have some strange materials that we're running tests on and we don't really understand. And it's unclear looking at some of the reports themselves whether they're flat out admitting they got some of it from Roswell or if that's just people speculating. I'm not certain, but it's an obvious, reasonable speculation. I mean, I do recall once upon a time when they floated some random explanation for Roswell back in the 90s at a press conference I happened to see. I was even back then. I'm like, dude, you are
Yeah,
so
but
obviously lying.
I thought this was a weather balloon. What do they have to test on a weather
Yeah,
balloon?
yeah. It was something else that I can't remember exactly what it was I said in that conference. I just remember thinking clearly, like, I don't think you believe what you're saying right now.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think you're lying. I'm not saying I know what it is, but I do think you're lying about what it is. I'm pretty sure. You don't sound like you believe what you're saying one little bit. Next time, hire an actor to wear the general's uniform.
Are you saying the government is not being fully truthful?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I
you
know, right?
must be a
String me up.
conspiracy theorist.
Yes, we wouldn't want to believe that the government ever lied to us now, would we?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so, and this is just the latest in a long, long line of things. Well, an increasingly long line, mostly having to do again with that whole Tic Tac UFO uh, footage captured from the F-18s. But again, this is just another strange drip coming out of the U.S. government. That
Right.
we got a few things that we don't know what's going on, and we don't know what the origins are. We're not saying it's aliens, but clearly
It's
aliens.
aliens.
It's like, wow. Honestly, I don't know what else to make of it. There's all kinds of random theories out there. Everything from Chinese tech, freaking Atlantis. They're just making stuff up to distract us. Although I actually, strangely enough, doesn't seem to be distracting us all that much. So if that's the
It's weird.
motivation,
It's very weird.
people are just like, oh yeah, all right, cool. When's the next episode of Shameless on? Yeah,
See, that's the thing that's really confusing me. And I understand that there's COVID, and then you guys just went through a really crazy election time
just a
where
bit.
some of this stuff was coming out, but it's been largely ignored in the media and by everyone. The fact that after 50, 60 years of denial, it's like, yep, here, freedom of information, here's some information on this. People are saying, coming forth and making statements about having craft from not of this world.
Mm-hmm.
There was that Israeli former minister of some sort that
There's
has made
Galactic Federation, and they don't want us
he's
because we
made some
suck.
kind of claims about
Yeah.
having bases on the far side of Mars already, which I find that funny. I remember saying, I was talking to a friend about that, and he had told me about. Well, he had reminded me there was a story came out a few years ago with one of the Mars rovers where they had this picture of the Mars rover, and you know how it can take a photo of itself,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
so that the engineers could see what's going on, and the what do you call it, it gathers, geez, I'm forgetting the word, the solar panels
Mm.
completely dirty because Mars is
Yeah.
dusty,
Yeah.
and they weren't able to get a lot of power from it, and like
Yeah. I
all of a
seem to remember
sudden they
this.
get the
Yeah.
power back and it looks like someone Windexed the whole thing off. And I'm not saying that the Mars rover it's in someone's backyard, you know, in Texas somewhere, and they're faking this, but I'm saying, how did it get so damn clean? You know what I mean? It just seems weird. So, you know, this person with the, you know, that used to be in the Israeli government, who's this respected scientist who has, I think he made some statement like, what can they do to me now? I've got all my medals, I've got all my, you know, uh, all
Right.
my accolades are done, I'm
Right.
retired. So of course he doesn't care, and he kind of says these statements in an interview, and to some reporter who was doing a story on this or that. But
Oh yeah.
it has to, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, unless there's people coming out saying, you know, Dr. So and so, he's been losing his mind the last few years, which no one has.
Right.
How do you take that from someone like someone who's respected
It's weird.
person? Why would they do that? Just to make themselves be criticized and like attacked, like not physically, but attacking their credibility. Why would they say that?
At the same time, I mean, devil's advocate would be, so why would Galactic Federation of Aliens come down, have a conversation, and say, we actually just showed up to say we kind of think you suck, and we actually don't plan on talking anymore to you. So, good day, sir. As like, you know, like what would be the motivation there? I guess you could say, well, you know, if you guys sucked a little less and you should really work on that, maybe we'll let you into our club.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, who knows if it's all true, what the aliens would be thinking, what advanced civilizations would think of us. It'd be like, you know, what do we think of the ant colony in our backyard? They're cool to look at. You might go over and
Well,
do
the thing is, though,
whatever.
that's not the contention. The
No, it's not.
contention is you guys could be part of the club.
Mhm.
But, and of course, the obvious implication was made, but Orange Man bad, so therefore you can't be part of the club. That was obviously the implication that they were
Sure.
making, you know, and you know, with not so much the aliens were making that implication, the way that whole thing wound up getting reported. It's like
Right.
the
Right.
subtext ain't very sub, but anyway,
Right.
you
Right.
got that. So I'm really curious though, what would be the properties of this unusual metal that people have that the Pentagon says, yeah, we have this.
Well, some of the stories from the past that I've heard, if you've watched, like I've watched a couple of documentaries, or there was a movie made with, I forget some of the actors' names in it, that talks about the history of it, and some of the claims made by the one airman was that it was like there was some metal that was thin like tinfoil, and you would crumple it up and put it on a table, and it would open itself back up completely smooth.
Interesting.
There was some metal that was like stronger than any steel, and but it was like the combination of metals wasn't from anywhere that was on Earth.
Right.
Strange writings, things like that. Like it wasn't like, you know, made in the USA or anything written, but it was like he described it as looking almost like hieroglyphic, like picture like. I mean, who knows? It could be a design,
right?
And he just
right.
was so jazzed, like, oh wow, look at this hieroglyphs. But that was some of the it was like almost like some of it was like, liquid metal and stuff, and you would scrunch it up and it would just open itself back up. So
Mm-hmm.
there was some of these qualities on it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Listen, you talk about that. It reminded me of I caught part of an interview on Joe Rogan. They were interviewing, I forget what his name was, but I think it was some Harvard scientist who was talking about that weird thing that went through the solar system a couple of years ago now. Started
I
with an
saw that
O.
recently. Yeah, yeah.
And it was from outside the solar system. Like, what the crap is this thing? And we never got a direct photograph of it. So all the pictures you've seen of this thing that make it look like a long cigar-shaped asteroid, we don't know what it looked like actually. Everything that we got was just basically measuring reflected sunlight off of it.
Mhm.
Which one of the strange things it was doing was, as it was going through the solar system, it actually sped up, which it did with it sped up as it was going away from the sun, if I recall, and it didn't have a trail, so it wasn't a comet. It didn't have any
Right.
sort of tail, so there was no gas ejecting or anything from it that you could use to say, well, okay, so basic physics, it's ejecting out
Mhm.
that way, so it's pushing against the rock or what have you, and pushing it out and just helping it on its way out of the solar system. So like, well, how this thing that came from outside of the solar system, how is it accelerating when it shouldn't be accelerating? And of course, the speculation was that, well, maybe it's a lot of people are like, it's an alien ship, it's a probe.
Right. Well,
Um,
and that's what
yeah.
I think he was saying there. Also, too, it sped up, but
Mhm.
it also had changed directions at least once or twice or something. Like it changed
Mhm.
its trajectory. But
Uh,
what he said is some of the readings they were getting was this. It was like metallic and stuff,
Yeah.
so it wasn't asteroid like. So he just said he came to that conclusion. He was really cool. He was just like,
Yeah.
I went through everything, and there wasn't any other conclusion but this.
Yeah. I mean, asteroid, there's a lot of heavy metal asteroids, but the speeding up in the direction change is still a thing. And I did like his explanation, which was essentially he wasn't saying that this was an active uh, ship or something. That it wasn't. He's like, it's not a probe. It's like the
Mhm.
most likely thing is that it's a piece of wreckage. It's
Mhm.
some.
I remember that.
It's like it's a solar sail. It's a spent piece of. It's a spent rocket or something that came from outside the solar system still, and was making its way through, because all of those direction changes, the acceleration, can literally all be explained by the way sun reflects off of a thin, a thin, relatively low mass piece of metal. Because
Right.
we've measured similar effects on our spent fuselages and whatnot. It so I'm like, okay, you make a solid argument, pal. I gotta say, it's still one of those things where you wonder. It's like, how come none of these aliens can fly? What the heck? Why do they all fly like Mark Wahlberg in Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes?
That's so true. I, I don't if you remember this. This was I don't know how many years ago, but scientists had said that they discovered this kind of what could it was a speculation that it was some kind of structure in I don't know how far away
I
around
vaguely
a
remember
sun
this. Yes.
called what they thought was like a Dyson sphere. I think
Mm.
that's the term
That
for it.
was one
Where
of the
yeah,
speculations thrown out there. Yeah.
because it seemed like it was moving, like like it would move
Mm.
right, like around. But what it
Mm.
was doing was gathering like they're just speculating like why would this thing be built around the sun, which would be massive?
Mm.
It was to gather energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Um,
thing. For those who don't know, um, a Dyson sphere is something that was proposed by, I don't know, some physicist or engineer or whatever, quite a long time ago actually. And the idea is that you would literally build a whole sphere around a star for the sole purpose of being able to retain literally all of its energy. So that, and you would have a whole civilizations probably living on the inside of the sphere. But anyway,
Mhm.
continue.
No, no, I just feel that there's this kind of information that kind of gets out with this technology and stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously the aliens have a hard time driving because they're losing pieces of ship or fuselage, but
Yeah,
or crashing into farms.
crashing
But
in random New Mexico towns. Yeah,
so it's just this kind of every time I see something on the news, and I'm like, wow, they're they're just saying it. UFOs or well, they're
yeah.
not saying UFOs, they're saying whatever. And I just go to my wife and I'm like, holy crap, they're saying something else. Like disclosure is coming, whether how
It
they
seems
do it or
like
if it's good or bad.
every every month or two, there's some other little tidbit that's getting thrown out there, and it's very strange.
And maybe they're doing more and more of it. And luckily, everyone is too busy with their face down in their phone or not caring because, you know, of whatever is bugging them on Twitter. And maybe they're like, hey, maybe we can tell them more, as opposed to being in the 40s or 50s or whenever that George, the live radio
Hmm.
broadcast of War of the Worlds, where
Uh-huh.
people lost their minds and they're like, okay, well, we can't talk about this for another 60
Yep.
years or whatever. Maybe they're like, oh, okay, people are open to this. Or what if, let's pretend all of this is true, right? The
Yep.
Federation of the aliens are out there, and the government is every month or two disclosing more, or not denying it, or releasing documents,
Hmm.
or going to show us something, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Or Congress has given the government 180 days or 100 days to release all this information. That was another thing that came out.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
What if
that's right.
what if the pressure, or what if the release isn't happening because they're like, hey, these people can handle this, we're just going to come out and say it? What if the Federation is saying, look, we're going to just show up, and if you're not ready for it or your people aren't ready for it, what are you going to do? Or some event is coming that's going to be obvious for everyone to go, okay,
Hmm.
the jig is up, we know
So they're slowly
what's what.
prepping.
So they're slowly prepping now, and it's faster or happening at all because it's either now or never, because something's coming, or the Federation is like, well, you've completed your application. Picard's on his way to induct you guys in or whatever. So what if they're just like, oh, we got to move on this?
You know, who the who knows? And honestly, just about any explanation is plausible at this point because they don't. Because no, I can't think of any explanation that is fully satisfying to me. I could definitely find holes with just about anything, but I don't have my own alternative explanation that makes any more sense that accounts for everything. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I, I don't know, man. Beat me up, I guess.
Just
I mean, hey,
yeah.
you know what? If you guys could get me on, if you guys can get me on a ship to Mars for a quick visit, I would be so down with that.
Yeah, yeah, that would be cool. I always see this Elon Musk stuff happening, or like I forget what the Perseverance, the Mars rover that just
Yeah,
landed
yeah.
recently.
So that's the one that's just
That's so cool, to be
it's
able to
very
see
cool.
stuff like, but it'd be so cool to see it with your own eyes, or like at least more live on TV.
Mm,
But the pictures are cool. Did you hear the sound, the first sound of Mars or something? It's so
mm.
cool, right? It's like, but
That's
how
very
cool
cool.
would it be to be able to visit and not have it be a one-way trip, or take what,
Or
18
have
month
it be a
round
one-way
trip?
trip because there's already an established colony. That'd be cool.
Well, if that's true, if there's already
Yeah,
an
I don't think so.
established base
I
there, but
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that there would be because why would Elon Musk be currently pouring billions of dollars into building his starships to hopefully establish a colony?
but he's just not involved, right? Like, just
Yeah,
because he's a
maybe.
billionaire and he's smart, I'm sure, like, let's say this is all true. I'm sure there's some uh, deep black ops CIA group giggling their butts off about how Elon Musk in the world is patting him on the
Yeah,
back and,
but you
oh,
see,
you
here's
made
the
it to the
thing.
space station, and they're giggling their butts
It's
off.
not so much that he wouldn't do it. He would not be doing it because it's a waste of time. They'd be stopping him.
Right. But it's still, if they've been doing this since like the 50s, if they've had a Mars base since the
Mm-hmm.
50s, and he's just now the first civilian company
Mm-hmm.
to get into orbit, maybe, sorry, I mean, well, yeah, the space station's kind of just outside of orbit or whatever. And then that's all he's doing. He's going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the projection is a Mars mission by 2030, maybe.
Oh, he wants to get there a lot faster.
Oh, for sure. But, you know what I mean? Like, maybe. What do they care? And if it's all true and this is, disclosures coming, they're probably going to beat him to the punch anyway. So he's going to be really pissed about spending all that money.
That would be funny. That would be funny. But, the quick thing before we move on from this topic, isn't it cool how Elon Musk's space starships, they look a lot like spaceship designs from the 50s?
Yeah, that is true.
For those who don't know, hold on. I gotta bring up an image just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Because I saw his two most recent prototypes on the launch pad, and I'm just like, wow, those Jetsons era, concept artists weren't so far off.
That's right.
It was genuinely. In fact, oh, good. There's the picture that I was thinking of. Awesome. Let's see if I can. Okay. Awesome. It blew it up real well too for me. So let's see. I got to do the whole share screen thing. If I can find it. There it is. And I don't do it all the time, so give me a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. And yeah, there we go, right there. See, I mean, that doesn't that look almost exactly like the kind of concept that they would draw in all the future space exploration books back in like the 50s and 60s?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
There's that kind of I forget what they call it, but that kind of retro look. Or
yeah,
I always think of that cartoon, that really weird cartoon called Space Angel.
I don't think I ever saw that.
Remember that? It's like,
no, I don't think I saw that
from the 60s, and it was like animated, but their mouths were like real people's mouths, and that's how they would talk. They wouldn't animate their mouths. It was like, yeah, like the mouths were like rotoscope or something. It was really cool. And he was like a spy, and he had this patch, and he was working for Earth, and it was a ship just like that. Like they had rockets, but then once they got into space, it would fly, and then he would land all. It was such a weird show when I was a kid. Like it was an old show when I was a kid, but
freaking it sounds Canadian.
He never said A once when he was speaking.
I don't believe you. Liar.
You have to look it up. It's such a weird cartoon.
But yeah, anyway, it's just this is just so cool. I mean,
it is.
I don't know if the aerodynamics genuinely favored that particular design, or if Elon Musk was make it look like this.
I think on Rogan, he was just on Rogan recently, not smoking marijuana, and he had made mention that he was telling his engineers like to go pointier, even though it wasn't conducive for traveling to space. But he thought, it just kind of looks cool and it was funny or something like that. So they would just do what he wanted.
I can totally see that. Musk is that guy who would just be like, yeah, I don't care if it's going to make it a little less fuel efficient. I also want it to look cool.
Yeah. Because he called it Dragon, right? So of course he wants it to be cool.
Right. I mean, he's also the guy that launched a Tesla, being driven by a mannequin,
right,
with a sign saying "Don't panic."
Yeah, it wasn't that like he kind of
playing David Bowie.
Yeah.
Which literally no one can hear, because remember, in space, no one can hear you scream, and no one can hear your David Bowie. but he's doing it anyway because he needed a payload test for his Falcon rocket, and why not this? You gotta
I
love it.
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. Eccentric billionaire mad scientist in the
Pretty
brain.
much, man.
Yeah,
Don't. In fact, I was actually just look. This is off topic, but I looked briefly into Starlink, which is a satellite-based Wi-Fi
right,
that's actually starting to get rolled out now. There are some areas where the beta testers are actually live and using it now, which looks pretty cool. I won't be getting it yet because it's like $100 a month, which is a lot more expensive than my cable internet.
right.
Now, as soon as he comes out with a Starlink phone, let me know, because my if I can replace my cable internet and my Verizon for 100
Right.
bucks a month, now we're talking. Or even
Uh,
150 bucks a month. Now we're talking. Now this is something that I want to be involved in. But
Might
anyway,
be worth it.
Off topic. Now, moving on to the other topic of the day, Star Wars, because that's a total crap show now. Thanks. There's no secret of the fandom menace has been revived in the wake of The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and it's just things hadn't
Right.
been good for a little while, and then along came the Mandalorian, with Dave Filoni and John Favreau leading the charge that we're going to save Star Wars, which it looked like they were there for a hot minute. And then all of a sudden, like the Empire striking back, Kathleen Kennedy comes, Sith robes and all, and drops the banhammer on Cara Dune.
Yeah, Gina Carano gets fired through social media.
Through social media, no less, because nobody has any balls anymore.
Yeah. They fired her, but didn't tell her until she found out through social media, which was pretty. It's like breaking up with your girlfriend through text message.
It's worse than that. It's
Well, it'd be
breaking up
worse
with
than
your
that.
girlfriend from someone else's text message.
You tweet about it, and someone says, "Hey,
Yeah.
did you hear that Bob just broke up with you?"
It's like, yeah, hey, I just saw Sheila making out with this dude over at the Quick Stop.
Oh,
It's like, what
I
the
like it. Yeah,
Caitlin Bree? What? Anyway, sorry. Old cultural reference. Sorry
for all you young people.
for all you millennials and Zoomers out there.
Yeah, start watching
This
old
is your
movies.
grandpa's entertainment.
Yeah, damn kids don't
Get
know
off my lawn.
entertainment.
Yeah, get off my lawn and rewind your tapes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was some big news in the last couple of weeks, and some craziness. Which it looks like it's been not sure, right? Because it just seems like Lucasfilm and Disney is like pretending like nothing's happening, and they're trying to
They're trying to just
not
ignore the storm.
fully address it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying
yeah,
to go, and I know lots of stuff has come out that all kind of seems to be saying the same thing, which is basically that Kathleen Kennedy handed out for Carano for a
right.
variety of different reasons. She did not like her at all. Did not like the fact that she existed on one of her shows, and was
Right,
determined to find a way to get rid of her.
right. And Gina Carano was a guest, which was being interviewed by Ben Shapiro for the
Right.
Daily Wire,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the Sunday special that he does.
Right.
So a lot of that we finally got to hear from Gina Carano's side of
Yeah.
what she says was going on with her and possibly other people inside of Lucasfilm, and she did state that she felt, I don't think she realized it at first, according to her, but she felt pressure or
Targeted. Yeah.
harassment, just some weird things that she had said that, if this is true, it's kind of like weird high school kind of stuff. Like the people that would attend her on the set, like the assistant and makeup artist and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
they were all awesome. And then when they started, all of a sudden they replaced them all, which according to her were like really dumb people that didn't know what they were doing, and they'd bring the wrong food, or the makeup artist didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know makeup, but it was like her skin wasn't matching. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So she had to explain, oh, you need to do this and this and that. And it was like they were doing, according to her, little things to make her life not comfortable.
Yeah. It's just
Um,
yeah, stupid
yeah,
petty nonsense.
yeah, it's just really strange. I mean, and I felt for her watching that, because she felt, you could see that it was bothering her,
Yeah.
being
Oh yeah.
strong and moving on and like, doing other projects. But I mean, she even did say that she did cry. It was very stressful for her for
Mhm.
those first days. But yeah, it's just kind of seems very, very odd that anyone at Lucasfilm would want to kind of interrupt the second most popular character on the show in
Yeah.
a hit series that's saving a damaged franchise, in some people's opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, I would argue that it is because it was something that it was doing a great job, a fantastic job of bringing in elements from every era of Star Wars, with the possible exception of the sequel trilogy. But even there were hints that they could go that way.
Right,
They weren't as of yet completely discounting the sequel trilogy either, and it was weaving things together better than anything is done. There were elements from, of course, the original trilogy, the prequel era, the Clone Wars, Rebels, uh, you know,
right,
not Resistance, but who cares about that? and,
right.
no one cares about Resistance. I'm sorry. Not that it was the worst thing that was ever made, but it just wasn't that great.
It was made for a different age group.
Yeah.
Let's just
Yeah.
say. Let's just say. But I mean, yeah, like I didn't really get into Clone Wars because I was kind of in that middle part of my fandom,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I'm trying to get around to it. But Star Wars Rebels was amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
It was genuinely good. Yeah. I've watched Clone Wars, and then, for the longest time you had followed Rebels and I never had.
Mm,
And then when I finally got Disney Plus, I think that was like the first series that I started watching and catching up on
right,
was Rebels, and time well spent. It was a genuinely good series, and then of course the sequel trilogies were like, oh man, ouch. Ouch, ouch.
right,
And it wasn't killing my Star Wars fandom or anything. It's just like, there's still plenty of Star Wars for me to enjoy. I don't have to worry about this nonsense. Um, and in all honesty, it took time for my dislike of particularly Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker to grow. Not so much time for Rise of Skywalker. I disliked that pretty almost completely right out of the gate. Because it's just like,
right.
what is this jumbled mess? But anyway, um, it wasn't destroying my fandom or anything like that. But it also did kind of tamp it down. It's like, okay, I'm not super excited for whatever it is they do next. I just don't care as much. Uh,
Right,
but then of course the Mandalorian came out. And I'm like, oh, I'll give this a whirl. Why not? It's Filoni. It's Filoni, Favreau. They know what they're doing. And
right.
holy crap, this is awesome. I love
Amazing,
this.
amazing.
And yeah, and oh hey, that Gina Carano chick, she's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, neat. I'm in Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers, yes, Apollo Creed, yes. I officially love this show. It's hitting just pushing all the right buttons for me, right? And for a lot of other people too that even people that were effectively done with Star Wars
Right.
after the sequel trilogy were like, nope, done. Luke Skywalker drank green milk. I'm out.
Well, I mean, even some of the fandom
Yeah,
menace seem to be going, oh, whoa,
yeah,
kind of like pretending like they weren't interested, but they were really interested. They were
they
like,
were
wow,
interested. Yeah,
if this is the future, then And you know what? I've even heard people refer to, including myself, Favreau could be the next George Lucas
yeah,
for
he
Star
could.
Wars, right? Who
Yeah,
better to take it? And it's so sad. Did you see that recent interview with George Lucas when he was like, they were asking, why'd you sell or something? Can you explain that again? And, he said what his reasons were. He seemed kind of like, like very passionate about it. It's like he was having a new baby.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
And he's like, he wanted to spend time,
Yeah.
unlike when he was doing the series before, right? He was gone all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have this
Yep.
time with his children.
Yep.
So he said, some people will say, well, then have someone else in charge and don't worry about it. And he's like, but I knew I wasn't going to do that. I'm not that person. I would be
Right.
involved just as much, even
Mm-hmm.
with someone in charge. So he thought, instead of, letting it just kind of sit there, blah, 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 and everything else.
Just
So
cut the cord. Be done with it.
I kind of feel, I understand more now from that. But
Mm-hmm.
Filoni, or Favreau is like, he gets it. I mean, God, this is the guy that created the MCU, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. I
Iron
mean,
Man,
he
Iron Man.
ushered in the MCU with his bang up job with Iron Man.
Exactly. So now you have someone who understands Star Wars, is a fan of
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars, probably read every Star Wars book, just like Filoni, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you have Favreau with this vision, the directing, story, practical special effects with
Mm-hmm.
new special effects that isn't green screen. I forget what it's called. You can see
Yeah,
it
I
on
forget.
Disney Plus where they talk about it. Oh, it's so amazing. I literally thought they were either at some kind of back set on a Hollywood, like, somewhere where they were standing outside.
Mm-hmm.
And they were never outside. It was
Yeah.
crazy. It was so crazy. So
Yeah.
you
Oh,
had
yeah.
that. You
They
had the
developed it
vision.
in true Star Wars fashion. They developed new technology for it.
Right. So you have that, plus you have a great simple story
Mm-hmm.
that it tells new stories, new
Mm-hmm.
characters, but gives respect and nods to the old.
Yep.
It's organic,
Mm-hmm.
not forced,
Yep.
and it's just simple. We don't need anything. Star Wars in the past, shooting laser, blasters, pew pew, laser swords, good versus evil, and it was
Yep.
awesome for young kids, for old.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw Star Wars, I was 6 years old. Awesome,
Yep.
my parents saw, or my dad saw Star Wars. Way older than me. Awesome
Mm-hmm.
for him too.
Yep.
We don't need to. I understand that audiences are different now, but we don't need Game of Thrones and Star Wars. We
No.
don't.
No, we don't.
We don't
We just
need
need to
any of this stuff.
tell a good story. I'll be fine. And like you said, they did it with new characters,
Mhm.
almost entirely brand new characters
Mhm.
that aren't that aren't strictly speaking analogs for they're not analogs. They're not trying to take things over from older characters.
Mhm.
They're just new characters in this new environment doing their own thing, and it was working great. And
Mhm.
then, of course, as we know, with the last 10 minutes of Mandalorian season 2, they just Luke Skywalker's return, just bang, they just knocked that thing right out of the park, and Luke Skywalker just shows up and just unleashes righteous fury on these dark troopers, rescues Baby Yoda. I know his name is Grogu. Shut up. And and
Grogu. Grogu.
you, and the fan base, not just the Phantom Menace, like everybody except people named Kathleen Kennedy, were like, "This is the greatest thing ever." Thank you, John Favreau and Dave Filoni. Thank you so much for giving us what we wanted to see in the sequel trilogy. You guys rock.
Yeah.
Give us more, please. And right away, uh, you know, right away we find out about tons of spin-offs from the series. We find out there's an Ahsoka spin-off coming. There's a Rangers of the New Republic, presumably featuring Cara Dune. That was supposed to be coming. There
Probably
was the
probably not
Boba
anymore.
right. There's the Boba Fett spinoff. There's there was talk of, hey, are we going to get a Luke Skywalker spinoff from this? The talk of them uh, using this as a jumping off point to essentially retcon away the sequel trilogy, which seems highly likely, actually.
Yeah,
As strange as it would be, it seems likely. or at least it
It's
seems like it.
interesting with that because people are thinking that they would use kind of a way of doing that was shown on Star Wars Rebels of all
Yep.
things. I forget what it's called. It's called something of the
The
Force,
world between worlds.
right? But it's this way that they could change time
Hmm.
or something
Yep.
like that. But certain things that Favreau has said in the press that all this is leading up to the sequels. So, but I mean, he could be saying that they might not have a plan for that connecting, or what are the sequels? Because there's still certain elements in the
Oh yeah.
Mandalorian, like the cloning and stuff like that.
There's
That's still there.
elements that they could go that way.
Yeah, yeah. But what proved to me, what proved to everyone, every Star Wars fan and every doubter, that Favreau was the second coming of Lucas, and that they were serious about um, um, what they were doing in Star Wars, was that last 10 minutes of Luke Skywalker. I did not see that coming at
Yep.
all. You know what I thought when I saw the X-Wing coming in? I thought it was Captain Teva again. The actor from Kim's Convenient. I thought it was just him. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. They brought him back. What's he gonna do though?
Yeah.
Right?
What?
I
Yeah.
thought he was
Exactly.
just
What
gonna
is
come
he?
with no idea. And then when I saw, I just remember watching it. I'm like, I still didn't believe it. I'm like, the cloak when he's walking down the hallway, and I thought, that's Ahsoka. That's probably Ahsoka coming for some reason in an X-wing, which makes no sense to me, because I just thought there was no way that they were going to bring out Luke Skywalker, and how would they do it? There's no way. And it wasn't until I saw his hand, or
Mhm.
the glove, and then of course the lightsaber. And I'm just glad that none of my family was home. Because I was
Because
watching
you were
it,
squealing like a little girl.
I was freaking out. I because I'm watching it on the TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
My I'm able to work from home. Wife's gone to work. Kids are in school, and I was flipping out. I was like jumping around like it was like the last play of the Super Bowl, and my team just scored a touchdown, down by 6 or something like this, and I was like
Right.
freaking out. Could not believe it. Could not believe it. And I tell you, it wasn't like theory, but I got really misty about it all. And again, it wasn't so stupid. You know, there's a lot of people, including people inside maybe Lucasfilm, that are sneering or laughing at people like that
Mhm.
got even a little like emotional, as in like, wow, this is great, and feeling the nostalgia, because it was just such a good feeling, right?
Yep.
Where it was like, you're being told you're wrong for a few years
Yep.
about what your fandom is, or who your favorite character is, or maybe that character is not a hero. And then you have them not only bring in Luke Skywalker, but it's just like the end of Rogue One with Darth Vader times 10, because I think his moves are a little better. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a Luke Skywalker fanboy,
They were
but it
better.
just it just blew me away. It was like, after that whole scene, and then I was like sitting back on my couch smoking a cigarette. I'm just kidding. I don't smoke, but I was just like, it was like the ultimate feeling of satisfaction, right? And then you got to see that preview for the new Boba Fett series, which was awesome. But
Yep.
then it was like all worries about any struggle or question about the future of Star
Yep.
Wars
You're like,
were
Star Wars is back now, baby.
it 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 just blew away from me, right? And I was
Yep.
always optimistic anyways. I mean,
Right.
or I wouldn't, be a dork with the Star Wars fan site.
Right. Yeah. You wouldn't be running Star Wars Reporter if you weren't
Yeah.
fundamentally optimistic about Star Wars.
So yeah, but I mean, it's probably still there, and I know that the media wants to, because of, maybe the negative press that's been happening to Lucasfilm and from Lucasfilm,
Hmm.
and with the firing of Gina Carano and stuff, right? It's kind of riled everything up again. Of Star Wars is over, everything sucks, and it's 2 years until season 3, right?
Yeah.
1 or 2 years.
Hmm.
Who knows what can happen? Uh, with uh, you know, the Mandalorian
Yep.
and
Well,
Cara Dune.
I'm hoping they've gotten enough negative press and enough people like me who are like, last straw, I'm out. Disney Plus done. Sayonara, see you later. Which now I have no streaming services anymore. We we dropped Netflix over the cuties thing. We dropped Amazon when they killed Parlor servers. And now we dropped Disney Plus with this. I'm just like, yeah, I guess I'm done. I don't have
Yeah.
any more of the typical streaming services, and I guess it's fine. I mean, which is too bad because there's stuff I'd like to watch on all of them. If I'm being honest, you know, right after I canceled Netflix, it's like they moved Cobra Kai from YouTube to that. I'm like, son of a
Oh yeah, that's right.
really hate you people.
We
I love
actually haven't
Cobra
watched
Kai.
the new season. We haven't gotten around to it, my
Right.
wife and I. But a side note, I think that's really interesting what they did, and I don't know if they knowingly did or it just happened out that way that they actually made Johnny the hero of the show, at least in the
Oh yeah, I
first
mean they did.
couple of
I mean
seasons.
it's called Cobra Kai, not Miyagi Do.
No, but I mean, but they not only made him a hero, they made Daniel a jerk.
I wouldn't go that far. They didn't make him a
I th-
jerk. They just
he I think like all the things he was saying and how he handled things, I think he was kind of a d bag a little bit. Like one thing that comes to mind is his Daniel's cousin. You know, one of the guys that worked in
uh-huh.
the car dealership. Remember
Yeah.
when he went over to Johnny's house and burned his car with those two thugs?
Yeah, but that wasn't Daniel. That was
But it wasn't Daniel. But when he
his D
goes to
big cousin.
Daniel, because Johnny doesn't know, so
Yeah.
he's thinking Daniel sent these goons over,
Oh,
and
of course.
he goes to him. He's like, "What's up with this?" And so when he explains whatever, and Daniel's like, "Oh, it wasn't me," and this and that, he seems perturbed that Johnny would be bugging him about that because he's like, "What
Nah, I
about
didn't
my
take it that
car?"
way.
So he's like, "Well, go pick out a car. You should just hurry up and pick out a car." And it's like, well, Johnny could have did another thing. He could have said, "Look, went to the police." And then
Yeah.
then Daniel's business is over, right? It's like
Mhm.
his cousin went, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could,
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just it. I mean, I didn't take it as Daniel was perturbed with Johnny. He was probably perturbed that he had to deal with Johnny at all because let's face it, there's bad blood there. But
sure.
anyway,
Anyway,
back to the Star Wars
yes,
situation.
yes.
Sorry, we'll have to talk about Cobra Kai another time though, because that's tons of
Yeah,
fun. But um, you know, I hope, like I said, that they're getting enough negative feedback that, and this is going to take a while. I expect we're not going to really see we're not going to see a lot of movement, most likely, until we get to like October or Christmas or whatever it is when the Boba Fett spinoff comes out. And if they're
right,
just not getting the numbers on
right.
that they were hoping to get, then maybe the Bobs will finally pull their heads out of their butts and be like, okay, Kennedy, look, this is not your little private dictatorship. It's ours, and you're out. and they've got to
Right.
grow a pair between them, between the two Bobs that are running Disney. They have to grow one full set of balls to be able to fire Kathleen Kennedy from running Lucasfilm and take the hit that, I mean, they're going to get it in the media if they fire a woman head of a major entertainment if a major entertainment company, they're gonna take a hit for that in the media, which is,
Sure.
I think, the only reason she's still there is because they haven't had the balls to do it. They probably know she needs to go, but they've been afraid to do it, and it's gonna take a push. It's gonna take people saying, "Sorry, I'm not watching your crap so long as she's around."
Right.
And I'm hoping what happens is they can her, and I hope it's before, frankly, the Boba Fett series comes out, but I don't think it will be, unless just the High Republic thing that she's been been touting just continues to drive itself into the ground. Get rid of her. Offer Gina whatever she wants to come back, and then
Right.
maybe I'll think about resubscribing.
Right. Right.
But until then, guess what? All you people offer free trials. I will sign up for a free trial and I will suck your bandwidth for you. I, I will run up the electricity costs in your servers for you, since you offer it.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of pull this all together. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on uh, with Star Wars really right now, except for the firing of Gina Carano and maybe
Right,
the High Republic. But
right.
I don't think there's too many people paying attention to that. It seems more
No, it
because
does not.
I mean the negative and the rage clicks are always going to be a better story or
It
of
leads.
interest to
Yeah,
people, right? So,
yeah.
but other than that, you know, if there was more Star Wars going on,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they would, be able to measure what's going on
Yep.
with the audiences regarding Star Wars. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like I said, I'm trying to be optimistic about it. I'm still having fun with it. There's still season 3 of Mandalorian, the Ahsoka series. I hope Boba Fett's going to be really cool. Like to,
Yep, yep.
I
Well,
can't wait to see him back.
and the thing is, all of those things could definitely be cool. Of course, rumor has it that Favreau is very upset about the firing of Gina Carano. He's the one who brought her in, and there's there's some very concerning rumors for the future of Star Wars that are coming out. About him, but the rumors, they're rumors about
Right, right, right.
him even just saying screw you and leaving. Which, I mean, he's had run-ins with Disney before. I mean, he worked on Iron. He obviously launched the MCU, but he also all but left the MCU after Iron Man 2. He didn't really like working with them. Or,
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean,
of course, then he came and
in my opinion,
did their version of the live action Jungle Book too. So yeah,
right, right. Yeah, I mean, he would be a really. It would be terrible for Disney
yeah,
to lose him as an asset, right?
mm-hmm.
Because I mean, he can work between Lucasfilm and Disney, right? Do Disney movies,
Right.
Lucasfilm. I mean, he is an experienced actor, director,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? He could be, if Kathleen Kennedy is not around in 2021 at some point at the end of her contract, he would be the perfect person. And I
Yep.
always say that to take over Lucasfilm, if he's ready to stop like directing and acting, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because he's still like Lucas was head of Lucasfilm and he did all that. Plus he directed and
Mm-hmm.
did all that. But, maybe Favreau, I used to think maybe he's not done directing and et cetera, but
Yeah.
maybe he could do both. I don't know.
I
It'd
have no
be
idea. I have no idea as far as that goes. I'd love to see it. I'd love to
right.
see. I'd love to see him essentially step into that role, but Kennedy's in the way, and she needs to go.
We will see. Yeah.
Well, no, well, no one, no one rid me of this troublesome businesswoman. It's not.
Disney could.
It's figurative, people. It's not literal if you get the reference. But anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I think that the last 10 minutes again of season 2 of The Mandalorian really proved where the fandom is, and it's universal. Even the people that think The Last Jedi is the greatest movie to ever exist,
All five of
probably
them.
still thought they probably still all thought, yeah, this was a really cool scene, regardless if they like Luke Skywalker. They're like, wow, that was amazing, and maybe I'll have to look into this character that I am unfamiliar with more. I would love to see if you were talking about that, if there was a Luke Skywalker series to be made. I don't know if they can do the live action with the whatever. I would settle with a Filoni animation series
Mm-hmm. Oh
of
yeah.
the time between, like Luke gathering all his Jedi
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be all for
together,
it.
which would be cool, right? Another Filoni production, just like he did, the Rebels and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and like high quality, as good as
Right.
Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff, right? That would be, it'd be even cool if even Mark Hamill got to voice his own person, right? Like his own
That would
character.
be
That'd
awesome.
be cool.
I'd love it. Yeah, Hamill personally, no, not much of a fan. But Hamill as Luke Skywalker, love him. Bring
But
him back,
but
please.
these are
More.
simple, easy guarantees. These are
Yeah,
simple, easy guarantees.
yeah,
And I think they're starting to realize after that whole 10 minutes and everyone was going nuts about Luke Skywalker, all I could see is when Lucasfilm was advertising Star Wars, they were showing Luke and Leia and Han, Luke
yep,
and Leia, and it was like, oh, okay, so now they get it. And
yep.
I'm not saying that we can never have anything new. You just don't disparage the old that made it what it is,
Exactly.
right?
I just hope that in the galactic civil war going on within Lucasfilm right now, the Rebel Alliance wins.
Yes. Resist.
Exactly. Preach. And it's interesting the tendrils this has had as well. Supposedly there's people trying to get rid of Rosario Dawson as well because of some random comment she may or may not have made, like however many years ago. Which
Right.
I don't expect that to go anywhere. I think frankly she has too many politically correct points going for her,
Yep.
whereas Carano did not. Uh, I don't think Dawson's going anywhere. And not to
Right.
mention she's the live action version of literally the most popular female character in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go. She's going to take some heat, which is unfortunate for her, and more
Yeah.
negativity for the fandom.
Yeah,
But
and that's all that'll be coming out of that. Now, the tendrils that are really interest me is the fact that now people are trying to cancel Henry Cavill
Henry Cavill, yeah,
because he dated Gina Carano 10 years ago.
10 years ago,
Argue what?
is so
Even
stupid.
if Carano was the literal devil,
Yeah.
this was 10 years ago. You insufferable
If it was a year
asshats.
ago, what would be the difference?
Exactly. I mean, really, what? You people are all stupid. Seriously.
Right.
But
But this is Twitter.
apparently the drive to cancel him has gained traction because you shared the article with me about apparently they're
Right.
rebooting Superman over at Warner
Yeah.
Brothers.
J.J. Abrams got Superman. So, and the history of J.J. Abrams, he's not going to go, okay, well, I already got my Superman, so let's move on from here. But the story, he's going to replace everyone. So,
Yep.
and, Cavill, besides, sorry, the nostalgia, Christopher Reeves, right? Everyone always has that soft spot for him as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he was the next best one.
Henry Cavill is good. He's very
Yeah,
good as Superman,
it's awesome.
and he's gotten nothing but like just crap and heat for no reason whatsoever.
For
Basically for
dating someone.
existing, basically for not being Christopher Reeves. It's like, give me a
Yeah.
break, guys. Come
Yeah, I know.
on. And really, you're gonna have the next Superman written by Ta-Nehisi Coates for real, and then it's directed by J.J. Abrams, who apparently has like made it a profession to take over franchises and just bury them. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to have a lot of like benefit of the doubt for Abrams because when he's on, he's on. He does have an A game. Now his A game isn't necessarily as good as some others' A games, but he does have an A game, and when he brings it, you're at least going to get something entertaining. However, his A game doesn't last for very long. His A game is something that it comes in spurts. To use a football analogy, he's the guy that you can bring him in for a couple of plays here and there,
Right.
and he'll stun everybody. Or maybe he's like a good special teams player, but he's not your starting guy. He's not the guy that you just have in for the whole game because he's gonna choke. He will choke every time in the end.
Right.
If you let him play in the same sandbox too long, he will jack it up. Or he'll just abandon the sandbox altogether and be like, I guess you guys got it now.
To be fair, to be honest, episode 7, the Force Awakens, loved that movie.
I enjoyed
Loved
it. I enjoyed
love
that.
that
Yeah.
movie. and the abandoning, I think that after he passed on his notes to Ryan Johnson, and it went completely different.
And
And
Johnson was
I
like,
think,
"Oh, cool notes, bro."
yeah, I think maybe I think he reluctantly came in to do the third, or sorry, episode 9.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him for semi abandoning the whole thing, because they kind of like took, kind of the story, which
Mhm.
possibly had an arc, and wrecked it. And he was like, what am I going to do? But anyways, I I do hear you. I know that I'm not a Star Trek, like I like Star Trek, but I'm not like hardcore
Right.
Trekkie. And I
Yeah.
know when I would watch maybe the first couple of movies of the new Star Trek,
Mhm.
I didn't mind them, right? Like
The first one was
and I
entertaining
know
enough.
I know a lot of Star Trek people are like torches and pitchforks and stuff, and they're going
Right.
crazy over it. And maybe that's how they feel when Star Wars people get all crazy about the new Star Wars movies. They're
Probably.
like, hey, it was fine, what are you guys crying about? So I get it, right?
Yeah.
And toy sales for Star Trek that were going through Abrams' company, by the way, made no money, zero money.
Weird.
So yeah, so I meant, yeah, Abrams, maybe you're right, maybe he's hit or miss. So
Yeah. I mean, he's undeniably hit or miss. I
right.
problem is they keep giving him projects, and I'm not entirely sure why.
Uh, yeah, I mean, he seems to not have work, right? Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
and he's like an A-list director or
Hmm.
A-list producer, whatever role he's
Both,
he's doing
really.
at the time,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. But I mean, again, I'll step back. I mean, the savior, the person we need right now is John Favreau to continue to kind
Yep.
of do what he's doing. Filoni, I'll mention him too, because he's like has all the archive in his head, and mentored under George Lucas and
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
And Favreau's become George Lucas. I don't
Hmm.
know if
I want. Yeah. I would love for that. For like I said, I would love for the Bobs to pull their heads out of their butts, get rid of Kennedy, just tell Favreau and Filoni, you know what? You guys just have fun. Go out there, tell some stories, just make them cohesive,
hmm
and just
hmm
go out there, have a good time doing it. And we'll just sit here with our dumpster trucks full of cash enjoying the show.
yeah, maybe they don't have as much trucks filled with money anymore, at least for now, Disney. But
I'm hoping.
yeah, there'll be enough trucks of money. Well,
Yep.
COVID killed all their parks, so
Right.
which
But
apparently was the bulk of the income that they were pulling in, it seems. So, yeesh.
well, I mean, you have to take like out a mortgage to buy a cheeseburger, don't you?
It's pretty expensive there if you don't.
That's
If
what
you're
I
going to
hear. I've never
Disney,
been.
plan ahead and get a plan, like a meal plan, especially if you have kids.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the way to do it.
As you know, I've got more than a couple. If I were to go down, I would literally have to take out another mortgage on the house just to go down to Disney for like 3 or 4 days. So
And the prices are
guess what I'm
going
never
up.
doing.
Yeah, prices are going up, and they've gotten rid of, at least in Disneyland, the passes. The What do you call those passes? The like the yearly
Like
passes.
oh,
They're
okay.
gone. They're gone.
Really?
So yeah.
Wow, idiots.
Well,
I mean, just go
maybe that'll
ahead and
change.
just price yourself in such a way that just fewer and fewer people can even afford to go.
Well, the way things are, I guess no one, if they could afford it, is going anyways. Like no one's going anywhere, right? We're all kind of
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. But Red is in the chat. I'm sorry. I have to acknowledge this because Red is not very publicly not a Star Wars or a Star Trek fan whatsoever. So Red,
well,
I
he
don't
sounds
know.
like
I
a
don't know if you just had to
terrorist
stop
to
and say
me.
hi, in which case hi, thank you, or if you just had to feel some sort of existential angst and pain and subject yourself to all this nerd talk. But I'm glad you're here.
I don't.
Whatever your secret motivations were.
Who doesn't like Star Wars? What a terrorist.
You know, communist, terrorists, people who hate freedom, and red.
Yeah. Why do you hate our freedom?
That's right. Then again, considering what we've been talking about and the way it's going, I mean, I don't think the people running Star Wars like our freedom anymore. Ah,
He
she's a
says
terrorist.
he's
That makes
I'm a
sense.
terrorist. That's
I
so
get it
funny.
now. But oh man, so do you have any other thoughts, hopes you'd like to see for the immediate future of Star Wars before we wrap this bad boy up?
Star Wars. I think I think I said this before, easy thing going forward for Star Wars to do to mend the ways with some fans that have left and make the fans that have stayed easy series. Even an animated Luke Skywalker series. Easy.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. You want to even make them happier? Pay Mark Hamill to come back and voice his own character. Animation. You have that whole animation studio that Filoni has made so great. They can do stories, tales. Like even some of the books. I'm looking around my office here. Tales from Jabba the Hutt's palace. You can look at all these different animation things that you can jump into. Right? There is that. There's even again the series. They're working on the series, but I think right now I'd love to see some animated series that they're telling all these other stories or filling the holes here and there, leading up to the sequels. If they do that, that's what I'd like to see. And I'd like to see kind of Lucasfilm get back on track. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think everything you just said is what is a prerequisite for them getting back on track, which I would argue a prerequisite to that is frankly getting rid of Kennedy. You know, she has
Yeah.
she has to just be done away with because her and her minions, chief amongst which is Pablo Hidalgo, they need because they can try to sideline her all they want, which it seems like maybe they have at least a, attempted to put her in a box a little bit, but she's got too many minions who are willing to sort of do her will. She just needs to go, and they just need to go Night of the Long Knives over there, and just boom, just you out. You spent 10 minutes in Kennedy's office and left smiling last week. You're out, and just lay waste to the place. And be like, okay, we're gonna take a rebuilding year, and we're gonna draft some fresh talent, and we're gonna not suck here real soon. Promise. And
That's
and in fact, we're gonna bring Carano back, and we're just gonna go ahead and we're actually gonna this won't happen. There's no way this would happen. We're gonna partner actually with the Daily Wire on doing the movie with her. That'd be awesome. But that's never gonna happen. That's pipe dream right there. But do I think that they could bring her back? Yes, I do think they could. I think there would be a firestorm in the press for about 10 minutes. And if they just manned up and said, you know what? No, us Bobs, between the two of us, we actually grew a pair of balls, and we're going to go ahead and deal with the negative press, and it will be fine. And the fans will be like, yep, sign me up for that one. Because I want to watch Gina Carano kick some more butt alongside Apollo Creed. Because awesome. And as an alternative, though, Red mentions that she would be okay with watching it if Yoda were to get a wife and have a bunch of babies, so we can have many, many much baby Yodas. Because as everybody knows, Baby Yoda is arguably the cutest thing in the entire galaxy.
Baby Yoda and Ewoks. Don't
Why do
even
you
don't
get the
argue me
Ewoks?
on Ewoks.
You just enjoy me going off on the same rant about Ewoks every
Ewoks
time I bring
are
them up?
the best.
See,
Return of the Jedi, my favorite Star Wars movie, and the
you
Ewoks
can't
are
even say
awesome
that Ewoks are the best with a straight face.
because they are the best. They're the best. Hey,
No one thinks that.
you have this group of awesome, cute teddy bears that if it wasn't for them, the rebels would have lost, essentially, right? So they took their
Yeah.
spears and their stuff, and they defeated the Empire, which enabled Han and the rest of them to get rid of the shield generator. Death Star go boom. Ewoks win, and the rebels. But that's another hour
Oh yeah.
of
Because
how the Ewoks are great.
you know very well how much I can rant about the Ewoks and how much I utterly despise their very existence, and it was Lucas's first step towards the dark side.
Well, you, my friend, are so very wrong. I'm very
Okay.
they're,
I don't
they're
care.
now I could punt a porg easily, but
Oh please,
yes,
please. Don't punt it. No, actually, especially given your namesake there, Wookie Steve, what you need to do is you need to just skin it and roast it like a freaking rotisserie chicken and take a big old juicy bite of that sucker because Chewie deserves vindication.
I'm kind of hungry now. You're making me hungry. I think I need some barbecue chicken or something. We have those up in
Barbecue
Canada.
pork. I'd be all for that. And to be fair, so would the Ewoks because they'll literally eat anything.
Yeah, yeah. Even Han Solo for sure.
Even Han Solo, even Luke. I mean, they actually had R2 strung up. I don't know what they were planning on doing with that, but
They're probably gonna make like
ornaments.
ornaments. That would be yeah. That would be good. Ornaments and I don't know, some kind of totem of some sort.
They
So
were probably just going to go ahead and have them serve drinks the same way Jabba did.
oh yeah, that's right. I always thought it was funny that the Ewoks decide to carry them all tied instead of tying them and making them walk. Like that seemed like an easier thing, right? When you take prisoners, make them walk instead of
Well, to be
carrying
fair,
them.
they're all like a lot bigger than the Ewoks, so maybe they're just like, it could potentially be hard for us to stop them if somebody turns around and decides to take away our sharp, pointy stick and start clubbing us with it.
True, true.
Just
But
saying. I mean, yeah, you could always say they'll shoot him. They would just shoot him with their arrows, but literally any one of them, even Leia could have just reached down, picked up an Ewok, and used it as a shield. Just turn that little carrier to a freaking pincushion.
well, if the Empire couldn't do it, the rebels couldn't either.
An entire legion of my best troops awaits them. Yeah, yeah,
Ewoks are
your best troops, huh?
the
I've
heroes of the rebellion.
It's like I think they're old Pelps. Maybe you should stop trusting the reports you're getting from your underlings because your best troops suck. Just saying.
Which the Ewoks suck? Nah. They're the heroes of the rebellion, dude.
I'm, I'm laughing at this. I don't know because I know you don't know what we're talking about.
Ewoks, Star Wars?
Because it's funny listening to us rag on each other. That's why.
That is
But
true.
on that note, there, Stephen, I do believe we should call it a wrap, and we will head on out. And until next week, and whatever is that brings, stay good.